Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Dylan Bradshaw. We come in here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. On today's show, we've got two races to talk about. Should be a pretty brief show, Dylan. A sixth place run at Houston's with the High Limit Sprint Car Series for Kyle Larson on Tuesday night. And then a 26th place finish at Watkins Glen with the NASCAR Cup Series yesterday. Let's dive right into Houston's from Tuesday night. Sixth place finish for Kyle Larson. That was his worst finish, crazy enough, of the High Limit Sprint Car Series season.
Yeah, and starting off in the race. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Eight cars called it a night within the first two laps. Just a lot of wrecks, a lot of pileups, a lot of cars on their side. The second wreck just missed Larson. Actually, it was a pretty big pile up there. But yeah, Rico picked up the win in that one, closed the gap between him and Larson a little bit in the point standings to 33 points. So Larson's kind of got Rico on his tail now. But yeah, worst finish of the year, kind of crazy. Sixth place finish, his first time not finishing in the top five. Just proves his dominance, but also proves Rico's dominance, only 33 points behind. I think he had his DNF at Lakeside, Rico did. So, but yeah, Rico made some nice moves at the end of the race, got that win. But yeah, pretty good race. Just those wrecks in the beginning, it probably messed up the racing a little bit. Guys are probably trying to keep it smooth, keep it going. But yeah, Lernerville up next on the High Limit Series. It's kind of a ways out though. It's next month. Then Bridgeport, then Lincoln. The Lincoln show is in the Indiana Lincoln, not the PA Lincoln, just to clarify. But three races left. It's been a pretty good series so far. Lernerville, that's going to be a 50K payday. That's going to be a really big event. Excited for that. Next up on the list. But yeah, just hope Lars can continue the momentum, keep it going, pick up that high limit championship.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point you bring up about Lakeside, that first race of the year, Rico's DNF there. That may kind of be the difference in the points right now, where Larson, I think, that was a fifth place finish, or fourth or fifth that night at Lakeside for him. And then, Rico DNFing that night. I mean, Rico, I think, was actually out front when he had I'm pretty sure he was out front or ahead of Larson when he had issues. So if things went differently there, maybe Rico would be a little bit closer in the point standings, but still 33 points that gap, and it's been Rico and Larson all year long battling it out in the high limit series. So like you said, three races left. Looking forward to Lernerville. I think with the 50K on the line, we're going to see some more outlaw guys at that race. Probably, I think we've seen a couple races this year. I mean, Lakeside, we saw probably the most outlaw guys at it, and then sprinkled a couple here throughout other random races. But Lernerville is definitely going to be a good one, and we know how good Kyle is at Lernerville. I mean, obviously picking up the Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup earlier this year. But yeah, sixth place at Houston's for Kyle, and coming from 17th, I'd say that's not too shabby.
Yeah, it's definitely not too shabby, and definitely a change of pace at Watkins Glen going into the week. Qualified pretty good in fifth. Didn't get the finish we wanted though. 26th place finish. It kind of flipped. He went from 17th to sixth and fifth to 26th. So yeah, just a bad run. Kind of a good bit to say about Watkins Glen. I saw a lot of debate after the race about the race being really short, which it did seem really short. It was only an hour and 58 minutes. That's the shortest race since 1972 in the modern era, and that's the shortest since the Watkins Glen race in 2017, which was 2 hours and 7 minutes. So definitely went by super quick. Byron dominated the race. He led 66 of the 90 laps. It was his first road course win. Picked up that one. Bad day for Hendrick though. Larson 26, Elliott he didn't do very well. Elliott, as we know, he kind of had to get that win to go in, and then he ran out of gas, which actually ended up screwing Larson because he got the speeding penalty and, poorly timed caution, chased ran out of gas, and then sent Larson to the tail. Got up to 19th or so, and then he got in that little thing with Austin Dillon, spun him out, made him go 26. But yeah, as far as the short race goes, I don't know. Maybe they need to add more laps. It was only 8 laps further than the Xfinity race. Really short race. I did see one interesting thing, and I don't know if you saw it. So people were talking about NASCAR running the boot section of the course at Watkins Glen. They always bypass it, and it's like around the turn five area, the entry zone
Yeah.
to it. And it's a more technical shape because Watkins Glen, there's not really too many technical turns, and it would just kind of like provide a more of a passing zone for these cars because not one pass was made between the top six in the last 30 laps.
Wow.
And in the last 16 laps, no passes were made between the top 11 drivers. So an entire third of the race, there was no passing between the leaders. So maybe running that section, it'll make for a good passing zone. It'll extend the race. Maybe just add some more laps. But yeah, I don't know. This next gen car at Watson Glen has definitely been disappointing. It's been pretty good. I mean, it did pretty good at the Chicago race. Did pretty good at Coda, but it just hasn't been there at Watkins Glen. And I think historically, I think Watkins Glen is one of the better road courses races on the circuit. So yeah, I don't know what they need to do. Maybe the boot's the solution, but next gen just hasn't been too good there.
Yeah, that's a good point with the boot. I've never really thought about that too much, but I mean, yeah, road course racing in general with the next gen car, there's a lot of question marks about it. I think we see races where it like this one. I mean, the past two weeks really, where it's been kind of quick races that have flown by. This year, obviously, a little bit different with not having the stage cautions at the road courses. Which going into the season, I thought I was gonna love that, but now I'm kind of each race I get through it, I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, do I want the stage cautions back because to bunch the field back up a couple times? I mean, I know that doesn't. That sounds a little bit unlike me to say that, but I think it's like you really if you and I guess it goes to say like if you have a really good day and you don't make a mistake, you are rewarded in this format. Like William Byron, he had a mistake-free day and they just went on to win the race, which they were a very deserving winner. They dominated the race. Michael McDowell on the other hand, he had issues on pit lane two times and then obviously the engine issues towards the end of the race that took him out anyway. If he didn't have the engine issues, those two mistakes on pit road pretty much cost him his day. He was not going to be able to bounce back from that. And then the same thing goes for Kyle Larson with his speeding penalty on pit road and then kind of getting screwed a little bit, you can say, by the caution coming out right after. He didn't have an opportunity to get back up there on pit strategy or anything. I mean, it was really just you make a mistake and you're done. And I think that there's something to be said about that there's a lot of races in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule where longer races where like the Coke 600 for instance where you can mess up 3 or 4 times throughout that race and you could still be up there competing for the win at the end. So I like that some races we have that are like that. And then there's races like yesterday where hey, you mess up, you don't get a chance to win. So I think some days it's a good, you have to have races like that on the schedule, but with the amount of road courses, I think it's inherently going to be boring when we see that 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think of it the more I watch it because you qualify well, like you said, no mistakes. You're pretty much running where you qualify around that area. And on the other hand, you have stages. You have the guy leading stage one. He decides to pit there or goes for the stage two win, and then he pits, and then he's all the way in the back of the field. It's not like it's 2021 anymore. Like I remember the Larson Sonoma race. He swept every stage. You can't do that now. Like you pit after stage two, that second stage win, and you're all the way in the back, and you're probably finishing maybe in the teens if you're lucky if you have that speed. So I don't know what to think of it. I mean, with the no stage things, there's just these super super long green flag rounds. I mean, there's just not really much room for these cautions to kind of break the race up. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it rewards the fastest guy, but like the stat I just said, I mean, no passes in the last 16 laps between the top 11 drivers. I mean, it's just not really racing. It's just kind of like a RC cars on a track following each other. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Maybe extend the race. Maybe throw a wrench in the strategy. Maybe some guys have to pit earlier because there was a lot of people struggling with the gas. Like Elliott, I mean, he ran out of gas. A lot of guys were kind of running on fumes in a lot of parts of races. So um, yeah, I don't know. I do think that boot thing is a good idea though. It makes for a good passing zone for the more experienced road course drivers like Larson and Elliott, and Dinger, so on and so forth. So maybe that's something they look forward to. Maybe they make a change to the next gen. I don't know what the solution here is, but you just can't have a third of the race with no passing between the leaders in a green flag run.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, and I would like to see a little bit more passing. I wasn't. I mean, it was. I like when the race goes by fast. I'm not going to complain about that. I think that the races are too long typically throughout the season, but I do think that this is more of a car problem than it is a road course problem. I know that we're hyper critical of the road courses and the amount of them on the schedule, and I think that it does need to be knocked down a couple next year, and I think it will be knocked down by a couple next year with the potential or the possibility of the Indy Oval coming back. I know they kind of teased something on social media about that. I think yesterday or today I saw something, and maybe less road courses in general. It won't be as stale. I think that'll make it a little bit better, but they've got to do something to this next gen car to make the racing better on the road courses because, like you said, in 2021, NASCAR or Kyle's championship year, Sonoma, I mean, Kyle stayed out and got stage points, won the stages, and then pitted after, lost all of his track position, and drove right through the field every single time. You can't do that with this new car. It doesn't matter which road course you're at. It doesn't matter if you're at Sonoma or Watkins Glen or Coda. You can't pass. You simply can't pass. And NASCAR and everybody else can say that the drivers have gotten better as much as they want to, but I truly think that this car is not as hard to drive on the road courses for guys as what it was in 2021 and prior to that, because before then we would see cautions all the time for guys spinning out and guys having issues. And I'm not sure how many cautions there were in the Xfinity race. I mean, did you see how many there were in the Xfinity race, Dylan? I mean,
I,
there's definitely more than it was in the Cup race.
Yeah, there's definitely more. I'm not sure. I watched the end of it though. There was the beef with Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer getting that win, but yeah, a lot of the cases, I mean, it's the road course. It's so big that when there is a guy spitting out, I mean, they kind of had time to collect themselves.
Yeah.
They have time to fire off. The only time they throw it is if they can't start the car back up and they need a tow. So, a lot of cases there just really isn't even a caution thrown. So, but the Xfinity race was almost just as long as the Cup race. Like I said, only. Um, I think I said 8 more laps than the Xfinity race. So, yeah, I don't know. Something needs to change there. It's just super short. Which at the same time, I mean, you bring back the stage cautions. It's not like they're racing longer. It's just dragging out the race.
Yeah.
It's just jumbling it up, but they're not racing. They're just making like 30 pace laps around the track. Pitting. I mean, there's really not much going on. Just basically just used to jumble up the field and send the guys up front and the back.
And I hate that. I mean, I think that that's like the wrong way to like if NASCAR goes back to having the stage cautions and they think that that's going to be the solution to fix road course racing next year, I think that's a shame. I think that's not even close to the solution. I hate seeing just the race being, I guess, not, I don't know. I don't know what the word is for it, but I think when you put the cautions in like that, it's not making the race play out naturally. I like to see the race play out naturally, but we've seen in years past where the race can play out naturally and the car itself can allow for passing and an exciting race. So, um, I know. Hopefully NASCAR hears things from the drivers and hears things from fans that are complaining about these road course races because I think for the first year in 2021 with a lot of road courses, I think people kind of liked it. It was kind of fun. Like there was really good races on the road courses, and now the past 2 years, most of them have been stinkers. So we'll see what happens with that. I do expect the NASCAR Cup Series schedule for 2024 to be revealed probably in the next couple weeks. So really looking forward to that. I love schedule season, Dylan. I'm a big schedule guy. I like seeing all the schedules and putting them in the spreadsheet and seeing where Kyle maybe races here or there. But yeah, Watkins Glen, not the best of days for Kyle Larson, but I do think that there are better days ahead. Maybe not this weekend at Daytona. I mean, Kyle has DNF'd on every single super speedway race this year so far. Maybe he'll get his first finish on a super speedway. I think that's pretty much all we can ask for this week. Is just cross the finish line and move into Darlington with the car and driver in one piece.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an eventful one. After the Watkins Glen race, Kozlowski and Harvick, they locked themselves in on points. Bubba sits at the last one in the top 16, so a lot of guys outside that bubble, a lot of guys that could get the Daytona win. The big ones, Elliott, Cindric could definitely pick up the win there. Ford's always fast at the super speedways. Even Allmendinger. I mean, anyone can win the race at Daytona. It's a matter of luck and not so much, driver like Larson. He's been pretty good on the super speedways leading up to the end of the race, which that's pretty much when all the crap happens. like at the 500, I mean, he was running really good. He was running up front. Then at the end, he kind of got shoved in the middle of the track, got hit. You definitely don't want to end up in the middle of Daytona at the in the end of the laps, but hopefully we just like you said, bring it home in one piece, get a good finish. Start a little momentum heading into the playoffs, but it's definitely going to be exciting. I wonder if there's going to be some guys just pulling some crazy laps, trying to win in your end because it's the last race of the regular season. I imagine there would be, but um, yeah, I mean, hopefully, just like I said, bring it home in one piece.
Yeah, and kind of speaking on like the level of aggression, I heard Kyle say in an interview earlier this week he was asked about Daytona and just asked about the level of aggression in general that he's seen in the last couple races leading up to the start of the playoffs, and I thought it was kind of interesting. He made a good point about Daytona, and that was that really at Daytona, he kind of expects it to be less aggressive than usual because you've got so many guys that have a chance of just winning that one race and getting in that they're going to be really conservative up until the end. They don't want to get in any incidents before they get to the end of that race. And then obviously in the final 10 or so laps, it'll all hell break loose obviously, but I think I do expect it to kind of play out like that. I think last year's race was kind of tame, if I remember correctly, up until the end. And I don't know. Do you think we'll see a different winner, Dylan?
I don't know. I mean, last year you had the crazy thing with like Austin Dillon in the next day, and there was like it seemed like five cars on the track and everyone wrecked so early. So I don't know. There's definitely room for it, but like I said, it's just you just never know. I mean, it's Daytona. I mean, anyone can win. Like Dylan last year, like I just said. I mean,
Yeah.
no one expected him to win the race, and he was pretty much sitting in the back the whole time. And then as we talk about the super speedway, you kind of have those guys that sit in the back intentionally because they know that the big one's going to happen here at the end of the race. So they're just sitting back waiting for it to happen, and then by the time the race resumes, they're kind of mid to front pack. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's pretty much how every super speedway plays out. It's pretty tame, like you said, during most of the race, and then the last 5 laps, they just start to get kind of stupid there at the end, trying to go for the win. So, only time will tell. We'll see. It'll be an exciting one. I love the night races. It's gonna be a Saturday night race. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one, I think.
Yeah, and you're gonna be there, right?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I haven't gotten the text yet for the passes, but yeah, I mean, I plan to be there. Plan to be there, and if anyone's in the pits, I'll be at Larson's pit pretty much the whole time, watching the race on the TV. Watching the pit crew do their thing from behind the scenes. It's always fun. It's really cool to see them, doing through the pits in real time, and how calculated they are and how focused they are. Getting all in sync and getting the car out back on the track. So. Thanks everyone for the support as always. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for any, updates on the Larsonland Twitter, any races that could happen, any races that show up, because as we know, it's kind of sporadic with Larson racing. You never really know what he's racing. So, um, you know, stay on Twitter, stay up to date, post notifications on, and we appreciate the support. We'll see you all in the next video.
Thank you guys for watching as always. Like Dylan just said, the dirt stuff probably going to be less and less as we work our way through the playoffs. Obviously, we have the three high limit races remaining, like we talked about. But if there's anything that comes up dirt wise, you know where to look. We'll always keep everybody up to date on all things Kyle Larson. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode. We'll be back again next week to recap the NASCAR Cup Series race from Daytona. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow our podcast so you don't miss a thing. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.